And, of course, the dance that you performed, the diversity game, that was somewhat controversial, as it turned out, because you were looking at the whole of 2020, weren't you?
Yeah.
And were you surprised at the reaction that this got?
I mean, yeah.
This was amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Very, very surprised, because we thought that, it would ruffle a few feathers, but, not be one of the most complained about moments of the decade.
Yeah.
And it's really...
we should point out, this was the segment in the whole dance in which you talked about, well, you illustrated via dance, Black Lives Matter, the George Floyd case, of course, which are things which you couldn't have ignored anyway, but I'm sure at the same time you wanted to.
Of course, and that's the thing, it's sort of now been coined like a Black Lives Matter performance, and actually we were summarising 2020 and so many of the things that had happened, and it would be impossible for us to not bring into that something that was very prominent, but also massively important to us personally, which was the Black Lives Matter movement and everything that was happening in America with George Floyd. The reaction, and even still to this day, to be fair, some of the online reaction I get just on a daily basis because of it is shocking. Actually, it's shocking, but I would do it 100 times over.
When you say shocking, you mean people saying that you shouldn't have done it, people disapproving?
I mean, I wish that was the kind of the width of it, but actually it's way more nasty than that, way more vile. We're talking threats, things said against us, people sending pictures of where we train, and the real nasty stuff.
Really threatening and nasty
horrible stuff.
And how do they, I mean, obviously they're just damaged people, I imagine, but do they justify, do they say what it was that troubled them about it, or is it just the fact that...
Well, most of them are just racist. You can't really sort of reason with it. And then there's a lot of people that were saying about it wasn't the time or the place. Classic. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of like, when is the time or the place? When you don't have to hear it, I suppose. That's the time or the place, isn't it? So it's something that was, I'm just massively proud of it. It was controversial. It got a lot of people, made a lot of people unhappy. But it also made a lot of people stand up, be proud. It made a lot of conversations happen that needed to happen. And then, only this week, the performance itself was BAFTA nominated, which is something that I never...
Congratulations as well.
Thank you. I never thought it happened.
It's been nominated as the must-see moment, and I'd be very surprised if it doesn't win. I think it must win that, hopefully. I
mean, fingers crossed. Look, to win it would be incredible, but just to be nominated itself, for me, is just incredible.
But it'd be lovely if it does win, because I think that is chosen by the public.
It is, it's a vote.
And if it does, then I think that would be wouldn't that be a lovely vindication? Wouldn't that be a lovely way of you seeing that, OK, despite the unpleasant and completely unwarranted attacks that you suffered, the majority of people, or the people are saying, that was the right thing to do? I've
had more people than ever, last year, this year, come up to me and talk to me and ask questions, and that, for me, is a sign of, positive change. ITV were incredible. After the performance, they backed it and they put out full-page ads in the press. And I remember I was sitting with my dad and just, he was looking at me like, just seeing me taking a knee in the national papers across the country. And he was like, I was alive, Ash. I was young when it would say no blacks, no dogs, no Irish. And now I'm looking at you in the national press with
TV
a channel
star
backing you. And for him, my dad's not emotional, but he was really touched. And I was like, that's progress.
That must have been a lovely moment for you, though, to realise that your work could affect him in that way.
Yeah, just seeing his face, because he was really worried about us doing it. He saw a rehearsal, and he would never say it out loud, but we've worked hard to get where we are. It doesn't come by accident. It comes through a lot of hard work. And he was like, all he said to me once was, you're sure? And I was like, no doubt. And then he never questioned it again. But he had to ask, because for him, seeing me go and do that, I think it was hard for him, because he just saw...
because you were taking a risk. That's the thing. Even today, that's a risky thing you did there. And he was aware of that, and presumably he was seeing it from the perspective of someone who has endured and suffered that racism for a long period. And when it was more open and more accepted in society.
Absolutely. Do you know what it was? There was a period, I'd say 24 to 48 hours post-performance, that I never really talk about. But it was the most interesting period, because no one had really brought it up to me. It wasn't really spoken about. I felt all of this momentum gathering online. No one was sort of saying, oh, no, it's fine. Everyone was just sort of waiting for it to pan out, and sort of sitting there with, the rest of diversity, just watching this momentum build, and it was 1,000 complaints, 5,000 complaints, 10,000 complaints, and you sort of go, where is this going? And we just had no idea. It was scary.
Yeah, I bet.
Scary.
But what's an incredible thing is, as we said, it's been nominated at the BAFTAs, and it's something which presumably, when they're older, you will show your kids.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And it's less about the moment for me, and more about saying to my kids personally, just stand up for what you believe in, no matter how many people disagree with you. If you believe in something, stand up for it and do what you want to do in life and always represent yourself, because it would have been so easy for me to just sit back and not say anything, go sit in Simon's chair, do a nice routine, you know, try and promote some stuff. But I was like, no, this is my 4 minutes and I'm going to use it to say what I want.
Well, what a great opportunity and what a great way to see it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And I believe you got a phone call of support from someone in America straight afterwards, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. I was just sitting in my front garden and my phone rang and I was like, hello? And he's like, Ashley? I was like, hello? I was like, yeah, it's Meghan and Harry. And I was like, oh, wow. Hey. I was like, how you doing, guys? That nice. You all right?
Had you spoken to them before?
No, of course not. No, never. It was just the first time.
Well, did you say, how'd you get my number? Hang out.
No, I was like, is it really? But no, I kind of had a rough idea that someone was going to call me because, you know, we had a call just asking for my details and stuff about a week before, or maybe a few days before. And we just had a really lovely chat. And it made me sort of realise, way before, you know, their interview that was out recently, they sort of spoke me through some stuff and, you know, really opened my eyes to some of the stuff that they'd been through. And I was like, wow, you know, this is real. And if anybody understood it, they did. Yeah.
What, about what you might have coming your way?
Absolutely, and about where I was at, you know, in the midst of a storm. Because I think sometimes I sort of take for granted the fact that it was basically like front page news for about 3 weeks.
Yeah, it was big, yeah.
I still can't really understand why. But it was huge and people were talking about it. And, they said, listen, we understand. And we understand what it's like to receive that sort of negativity. Hence why they're not here anymore, I suppose, which was really interesting to me. And, you know, like Harry said that before meeting Meghan, he didn't even really realise that racism existed in that way. Yeah. And that was one of the most shocking things. I was like, wow, you know, it really... And it made me even more sure that we'd done the right thing.